Well, a very good morning, everybody, for Wednesday, the 21st of September. Got an area of high pressure over us at the moment, which is keeping things fairly stable with fronts out to the west. And we've been really experiencing light and variable winds with a slight touch of northerly. But we're starting to have the wind swing around a bit and a bit more westerly influence as we go into the next few days. Looking on here like we should get a reasonable day tomorrow before some frontal activity on sort of Friday, but it looks like high pressure will establish itself out into the Atlantic, bring with it some northerly winds. Not sure if it'll be strong enough for the ridge yet, but worth keeping in mind. But for today, light and variable winds and a bright day. Looking at those winds, well, who's calling me during briefing? Don't call me during briefing. Light and variable winds and southwesterly across the centre of the country, around 10 knots, as you can see, variable over us. Satellite picture over the UK shows a fairly bright start with some clouds into sort of the Midlands and into Cambridgeshire, but over us, nice and bright, crisp start to the day. And that cloud shall continue to burn off, but at least it's getting going here pretty quickly. The public forecast today shows sunny intervals, that light southerly wind, no more than about 3 to 4 knots, and reasonable visibility, and a top temperature of 18 degrees. That's fairly similar to GFS, maybe 19 degrees in the strong sunshine, and 7 degrees as dew point. Currently at Lasham, we have a temperature of 15.5 and a dew point of 10.5. David's forecast is already valid, and talks about it being reasonable today. Shallow cumulus space 4.5 to 5,000 feet. Horizon Autumn currently reporting, basically calm wind, cavalcade, and sort of scattered to broken at 4,800 feet. So looking fairly reasonable. Okay, onto the models then. SkySight gives you a potential flight distance of that. So we're in one of the better areas down towards the southwest, though I would have thought that might have a bit of a challenge with it if sea air picks up out to the west and up to the north, looking good. Slightly weaker into Wales, but that's always been the case. And thermal strengths, well, if we imagine a start time of around 11:30, 12 o'clock, we've got convection up to around sort of 3,500 feet, maybe 4,000 feet in isolated spots by 1 o'clock. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, up towards Didcot, looking quite nice, 4,000 feet, maybe even 4,500 feet above sea level in isolated spots. And that's getting as good as it gets. South coast, good initially, but as you'd imagine later in the day, weakens off a bit. Best area in the middle part, in the latter part of the day, up towards Didcot, Oxford, Shrivenham area. No real significant weather today. Q cloud base, which will be slightly higher than top of thermals. Just talking about maybe cumulus this afternoon, up to around 5,000 feet or so. So not bad. Sometimes sort of reducing to 1/8, maybe even shallow Q in certain areas, but I'd imagine there'll be a reasonable amount. The Met Office says there might be a bit more cloud. We'll have a look at some soundings in a minute, but worth bearing that in mind. Odd bits of top cover, but I don't think that's going to cause us too much of a problem. And convergences, well, with the light wind, doesn't look like there'll be too much in the way of convergences. So Lasham should be safe from any sea breeze at this time of year. And if we look at some point forecasts, we'll just go to Cheveley. Then you can see blue to shallow Q, although I think there'll be more cloud than that, up to a level of around 1,400 meters. So 1,300 to 1,400 meters, 3,500 to 4,000 feet. And scuties, similar area, let's go there. Quite an inversion, which is why I can see the Met Office says there is a risk of some thicker cloud later in the afternoon, but for some reason this doesn't seem to pick it up quite as much. It does pick up top cover at high levels, but yeah, so just bear that in mind, that although the models are sort of saying it could be a little bit blue this afternoon, I think there's more chance that it might just go a little bit more cloudy with some thicker cloud much later in the afternoon. Let's compare that to top meteo. Again, same sort of area, just south of Bryce and our area being best. Our start time around 12 o'clock. This showing actually slightly higher bases. Thermals up to around 4,500 feet for most of the afternoon. So a reasonable day. Does show at times the potential of a little bit too much cloud in there, but nothing particularly. So hopefully the models are correct and my pessimism in that area is wrong. Site forecast finally for Lasham, moderate climbs up to around 4,500 feet, maybe even 5,000 feet late this afternoon. So what's not to like 20 degrees on there? I think that's probably a little bit optimistic. Okay, so reasonable day. I imagine plenty of you will want to go flying and we'll be ready. A few things to note of airspace. We do have a bit of airspace to think about today. Salisbury Plain, very busy at the moment. Must be catching up from all the raw morning and whatnot. Netheravon has notified parachuting within 12 nautical miles. The main place you need to worry about that is the 4 nautical mile cone, and if you're slightly higher than that, 8 nautical mile cone. That's later this afternoon, but just be aware the Salisbury Plain danger areas are pretty active at the moment, and unless you have spoken to Boscombe or London Information, I'd avoid overflying them really, because yeah, it could be quite busy and subject to short notice change. Lots of paragliding going on as well. 32, which is into Wales, paramotoring in Hereford. I don't think that causes you too much problem. I think that says it goes up to 11,000 feet, which is pretty high for a paramotor. 29. I think that's just that equestrian event, or no, multiple paragliders in Oxfordshire, lots and lots of paragliders. And same out to the west of Salisbury. 13, yeah, environmental stuff which isn't relevant to gliding. So yes, operationally we are 2-7 today. There's been no jet movements notified to me. However, every 6 months, the ILS at Farnborough gets calibrated, or as it has been this year, it gets calibrated 3 times because there's been some commissioning of new ILSs. So yes, we're going to have the calibrator come through the overhead a few times during the day. So I'm expecting that between about 10:30 and 12:30. But I'll be having a chat to Farnborough this morning just to make sure that we're all ready for that. So just keep that in mind, that there will be a calibrator flight cal or something like that on frequency. That is just doing a few cuts of the ILS at Farnborough. It all comes straight through the overhead at varying levels, 3,500 feet, 1,500 feet. Yeah, so just one of those necessities. Okay, we will see you on the airfield shortly. Bye for now.